What's up, everybody? This is TJ over here at Fake It or Make It. Today's project, we're going to be making tiny ghosts out of this. Now, if you're like me and you're terrified of ghosts, you know, this is a good way to help you work through your fears of the hereafter. Ghosts are the most terrifying thing on the planet because you can't exactly punch a ghost in the face. I challenge you to do so, and if you can, please record that. I need to see it so that maybe I can get over my fear of ghosts. I have an old, hard as a rock piece of 1x6 that I found laying around the house. And it's thick enough, it's 3/4 thick, so it's thick enough that it wouldn't take much to keep it standing. All I'd have to do is maybe glue some little angled feet or legs on the back to keep it from falling over. All I'm gonna do is just freehand my ghost shape on the board, and there's gonna be more than one, so each one will be different. Each one of them will be its own design. If you want to, what you can do is get on Google, go to Google Images, and then search free ghost vector. A vector is a type of format. You can do free ghost outline, free ghost art, or something like that, and then you can print it out, cut it out with a pair of scissors, and then use some Elmer's or some spray adhesive and glue it down to your board, and then cut it out with your jigsaw. You can use a coping saw, but I'll be honest with you, that sucks. These right here, you can get them at Walmart or Harbor Freight for a little bit of nothing, and for a weekend warrior type project, it'll get you by every time. So I'm gonna bring y'all over here and let you see how I draw this out, kind of how I lay it out and sketch it, and then we'll cut this thing out. All right, so we're here at the board. We got this knot that goes all the way through the board. We can handle that a couple of different ways. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave that knot out. Just something super simple. Just remember that whatever you put on here to cut out, you're gonna have to be able to cut that out with the jigsaw. And I'm gonna reestablish my square line. And then, just for the sake of explanation, we can do some little half moon eyes like that to give the impression that the cheeks are pushed up from making a face. There's your little ghost. Cut this shape out. We're gonna cut outside the line, and then this will be sanded and painted white, and then these two shapes will be painted black. So let's get our jigsaw. You want to leave your ghost attached to the rest of the board stock while you're cutting it out, and then all your shapes out, and then the final cut you'll make is straight across. A trick that you need to can keep in mind whenever you're doing something where you're following a line is don't look at the blade as it's touching the line. Look ahead. You don't look at the steering wheel while you're driving. You look where you're going. So always look just a little bit ahead of your blade to follow your line. And the more you get used to that, the further ahead you can look on the line and your blade will follow. Just something to keep in mind and maybe practice sometime later. So when you're drawing these, it's really simple. Just take some wavy shapes Yeah, just keep in mind that whenever you get out here to the end where the wood doesn't have a lot of cross-sectional strength, that you could actually just break that little tip off like I did on the other one. Yeah, your jigsaw is not a race car. You don't want to power into the curves. You want to slow down in the curves, so that, especially these tighter curves, and that gives your blade time to work and clear the material so that you can start easing around. Well, but they fall over easy. So how do we fix that problem? Well, I'll tell you. If all you're using is a jigsaw or even a handsaw, you can take this scrap and make you some little feetses to go on the back of it. Real simple. And we're gonna glue them on the back of our shapes with something that everybody has laying around the house, is a hot glue gun. And if you don't have one, you can get one for a few dollars at Walmart or Harbor Freight or anywhere. And for these little decorative projects, that glue will hold just fine. You can use super glue, you can use wood glue, whatever glue you got, but you can also use hot glue, and that's what I'm gonna use. Now, we know that the edge of this board, this cutout, this waste board, that edge is really flat. So that'll be what we'll make our feet out of to put on the back. And I think we have enough of them to do all our shapes. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't want that sharp sliver hanging off the back, so I'm just gonna cut a little bit of that off. Old uncle used to call it the jumping up and down saw. The jigsaw can get away from you and just hit the wood and all right, so now I'm just gonna make me a straight line. You do want this cut up here, the fat part is gonna go toward the ghost or the shape, so you want that to be real flat. The feet are gonna go on the back just like that. We're gonna hot glue them back there, and then that'll give it something to set up against. Okay, now that we got all our feet cut out, I'll show you how this is gonna go. You want to take your flattest part and put it flush with the bottom of your shape, and put them out kind of wide, not all the way to the edge, but just to where it's completely concealed by the shape. Make sure you put the correct face, glue the correct face. Just squeeze him out, squeeze the excess glue out, and hot glue sets really fast. So this makes this go pretty quickly. And I always use too much of everything, too much glue, too many nails. There you go. He's got some legs for walking and standing now. Here, now's the time that you want to go ahead and sand it up. I use this cheapo Walmart Black & Decker orbital sander. You can hand sand it, but really, I mean, these are super cheap. So, and you would always need one. I mean, they're really handy. They're cheap, so don't be intimidated by going out. Just going to Walmart down the tool section, picking one of these up. For this kind of stuff, it's just crafts and decoration. Don't be afraid to get one of these and getting a couple of different grits of sandpaper. Like I said, if you want to, hand sand it, but really don't skimp out on buying one of these, because they're just so affordable right these days. So I'm gonna go ahead and sand this out. Up to this point, we have cut out our shapes with the jigsaw and sanded. And then after we sanded, we hot glued the little feet on the back so they'll stand. And so now I'm going to kilz my ghost cutouts. You'll still be able to see some of the wood grain through this, because you know it usually takes a couple of coats to get to 100% opacity whenever you're painting bare wood. That's why you use primer. However, that's kind of what I'm banking on, so that I can still see just a little bit of the wood grain. Now this edge grain, you're going to have to dab the sponge brush on there, because it soaks it up so fast. So you squeeze, you kind of push it into the end grain fibers. This is a really easy little project that you can do. If you take your time and think about how you want to do it, you can really accomplish a lot in a short amount of time with this. Just make sure you don't have any ruins in your paint. It's not that critical. Just an art project, just an arts and craft project. Nothing, not building cabinets or O-rings for the space station. Just having a little bit of fun. I mean, all this stuff that I do is trial and error. If something doesn't work out, oh well. Clean my mess and try again. That's all you can do. I think that's where a lot of people miss out on a lot of stuff, is they don't have enough tenacity. If there's something that you want to do, you can't let anybody stop you from doing it. No matter how silly you think you'll look, or how you think people will perceive you. If it's something that'll make you happy, who are they to stop you? And it looks like, I don't know, I might just leave these with one coat. Like I said, I'm kind of looking for that look of that you can still see the wood grain through the paint. And you know, another thing is when you're doing something like this and you still want to catch that, you know, you want to achieve that look that you can still see the wood grain, but you need that little bit more opacity, and you're looking for that look. You can take different latex paints, colors, any color will work. Take the latex paint and then pour you some in a mixing cup or a Dixie cup or whatever you got, and then mix a little bit of water in there with it, and then try it on some scrap wood and adjust your water to paint ratio until you get the consistency that you need to get the desired effect. More water will yield a look that shows more wood grain and will be therefore more transparent. Less water, the paint will be closer to full strength, and so you'll see less grain. And this kilz dries really fast, so you'll be able to, you know, especially when it's hot outside like it is today, you'll be able to move on to the next step really quickly. So we'll just let this dry for a second so we can make sure that we got the opacity that we need. All right, so the boss lady wants there to be less wood grain showing. So in order to keep, so now we're just adding our second coat of kilz. You can still see some of the grain, which kind of works out. It's just not as prominent.
just check and make sure all the way around you don't have any runs or drips anywhere. Cool thing about using kilz for something like this is the kilz kind of has a chalky, kind of flat appearance. It doesn't really have any sheen to it once it's dry. If you want your color, your cutouts to have some sort of gloss to it, you might want to use something else, because kilz is really pretty flat, which for this I think it'd be pretty cool. One thing I see people do a lot when they're painting, anything, walls, cabinets, doors, they don't put enough paint on their brush, and they push down on the brush, even like these little foam brushes, they push down to dispense paint out. Now, when you're doing the edges, that's not too big of a deal, but you really don't want to have to do that on your flat, open planes of what you're painting. You want that paint to just flow off the brush, and the only way that you're going to do that is to have enough paint on your brush to actually flow off. It's not as complicated as people make it out, but you do have to stop yourself from fighting your brush and make sure that you have enough paint on your brush to begin with. Alright, so we got all of our ghosties with a couple of coats of kilz, and they are ready for their faces. I don't think I'm going to show you that. That's pretty straightforward. I'll probably just use a little, like a light pencil, draw on the face, and then take a small paintbrush and paint in the shapes for the faces that I want, but you get the picture. This is the back sides of them. So let's recap real quick. We had a scrap piece of 1x6. You can use anything. You can use scrap plywood if you have any scrap plywood laying around. You can use anything. You can use MDF, you can use hardboard, you can use whatever. As long as you have something to cut it out with, like a jigsaw or a coping saw. Again, this method here kind of sucks, but it'll get you by in a pinch if you have the right blade and you have enough tension on it, and you just take your time. Just drew out our shapes, cut them out with the jigsaw, paying attention to our line, and then with our scrap cut-offs from what came away from this, we cut an angle on that, made sure that our bottom was flat, and we just hot glued them on the back. Super simple. Y'all let me know what y'all are working on down in the comments. Do y'all have any cool Halloween craft ideas that you like to do or make? And I'd love to see what y'all do for Halloween and any kind of crafts that you have. And let me know what you think about this video down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. It really means a lot to me if you subscribe and comment and like. And if you do have some constructive, keyword constructive criticism, I'm all about hearing it. I have really tiny feelings. Tiny feelings. So be nice. Please. So anyway, hey guys, this has been another Fake It or Make It video. I hope you enjoyed it. Y'all come back.